16 rounds. How many of you have already chanted 32 rounds? How many of you have already chanted 48 rounds? Let me change this. 48. Me too. So, and for those of you that have those numbers, then the sky's the limit, right? Why only 16 million rounds? There's taste. And there isn't something material. Supposing, something you like. Whatever that's something that you like. There's a satiation point. How much can you eat or how much can you produce? But this is a transcendental sound vibration, and thus there's no limit, there's no satiation. Okay. So deliberately, this is going to be a short class by design. And I received a note this morning from Shamsa because of a really nice idea that I'm sure is going to be like rocket fuel. So I'll go quickly. Flickering mind, Chantila, even of Krishna. Krishna says, Arjuna says, the mind by nature is flickering. Why? Because there's so many subject matters that the mind moves to because one doesn't satisfy, then the next doesn't satisfy. In combination, there's this tendency, conditioned tendency, to look for happiness out there somewhere. And it's just by combining the objects in a certain configuration and so forth and so on. It's endless. Never satisfied. Dushparena, never satisfied, burns like fire. So the flickering mind is what we're accustomed to. And the objective is to somehow come to the place where it's not a flickering mind. Like the example in Bhagavad Gita, like a lamp, there's a candle, in a windless place. I'll do one little sharing. I should go quickly do some sharing. During some period of time when I was in college, I started again, as I did when I was much younger, searching for, I didn't even know what to call it, higher reality, I would call it. There's a higher reality. Three things. I'm confident, I'm convinced there's a higher reality. Second, I don't know what it is. Third, I want to know. It was like a calling. And I was determined. So I went out into the world, into the spiritual marketplace, and found, wow, there's lots of options out here. And I was like a kid in a candy store, sampling this, sampling that, stomach ache. I got to be more selective. I started selecting things out. Near where I went to school, to college, there was a Zen Center. Zen Buddhism. The author of the book. So I started about are in this place where it has dedicated Zen for. And every morning, before today, I heard about one hour, it's 1 hour. You follow 1 hour every day makes that person Zen without Zen and take Zen. And it was trying to go with flickering mind first. The process was, I mean, the goal was nothing that's been. Don't interact with it, because normally we interact with it and then it becomes us, that thought or the desire or something. But just let it go. And then off the screen it goes. The screen is the mind. And then here comes another one. And just let it go and just let it go. And after some time, there's this realization that I'm the observer. I'm not the thoughts in my mind. And then after some time, the thoughts stop. And become like a clear sky. And in that clear sky, it's Shanti. Because the thoughts are agitating. And normally, it's our business is interacting with our thoughts, and it becomes our reality. So that was like this. But as soon as that period of intense meditation stopped, immediately the clutters started to come again. And this would happen every day. So then I realized this is because it's not natural. So to get this by something that's not natural, it's not sustainable. Meditation helps this. But sustainable is where there's actual transcendental, which means beyond the gunas and beyond karma, beyond this material realm, where you take shelter there. And the name is a place of shelter. The obstacle for us is we're accustomed to interacting with the mind and what's going on in the mind and the feelings and the this and that. And what's the function of the mind? It's accepting and rejecting. And those are distractions. If you're absorbed in accepting and rejecting program, the standard program for the mind, then the mind becomes distracted. We spent some time, 3 times, discussing this verse, quoted by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, as the scriptural foundation for going beyond distractions. If you remember. Just say the phrases again so they stick. Jata Shraddha. Jata Shraddha. Acquiring or developing faith in what? Sound. In Aparusheya Shabda sound. So the name of Krishna is the root of Aparusheya Shabda. It's the essence of it. So having faith in that sound that is achieved by ati bhagyena, by the good fortune of those who have the shelter, have taken shelter in that same spiritual sound vibration. And they have a spirit of devotion to that spiritual sound vibration, the object of that spiritual sound vibration, Krishna. And that gives mitigation from the tendency to follow the distractions, not by mechanical method, but by actual shelter. So this is the flickering mind topic, something that's helpful. I'm going quickly. Something that's helpful is the power of regulation. Nama vrata. We take a vow. So maybe you can do that for yourselves today. Minimum something, and you can keep going. That's nice too. From the Sadgoswami Astaka, Sankhya Purvaka Namagana Natibi. They did it. They had a retraction. Nonetheless, they performed regulation. They performed, all of them performed regulation. And here's a nice verse from Padma Purana. Smartavya Satatam Vishnur. Here's Prabhupada's translation from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Of all the regulative principles, this is purport, regulative principles, namavrata, the spiritual master's order to chant at least 16 rounds is most essential. Now that's day to day, and for us, day to day is a regulation. And increasing is always encouraged. But the power of regulation is very significant. I'm going to tell two stories. One is a story about a sadhaka in Vrindavan, not so long ago. And he was very, very fixed in his regulation of his gayatris and his chanting of the holy name and so forth. Kind of a celebrated person. He wasn't a show bottle. He was a very genuine personality. And as he got older and older and older, it was very difficult for him to complete his vrata. And so he just decided, what's the use of maintaining this body if I can't complete my vrata? And so, like grandfather Bhishma, like Haridas Thakur, he just gave up his body. So fixed was he. This is a person who's not just a sadhaka, a perfected soul. Regulation through numerical chanting was very important for him, so much so that life was meaningless without it. Similar to Haridas Thakur. During this coming week, it's a second example. During this coming week, I would like to spend some time visiting places in Vrindavan virtually and discussing the pastimes that occur there. There's one of the places we're going to visit, most likely, is Uddhava Kund. Uddhava Kund is on the backside of Kusum Sarovar, those of you that have been to Vrindavan. One of the most picturesque, fantastic pieces of architecture in the whole of Vrindavan is Kusum Sarovar. And it's on one side of Govardhan Hill, on the back side is Uddhava Kund. Uddhava Kund is a place where Uddhava, having prayed to become a blade of grass so that the gopis could step on him and some of the dust from their feet could land upon his head and he would be benedicted by that mercy from the gopis. So he became a blade of grass. Much later, after Krishna's departure, it's a very nice description. This is also in Padma Purana, Bhagavat Mahatmya section of Padma Purana. the queens of Krishna were brought from Dwarka, accompanied by Arjuna. We know this from first canto, right? Arjuna, when traveling with the queens to come back to Hastinapur, the cowherd boys, there were some cowherd boys, not Braja cowherd boys, just some cowherd boys that were harassing the queens. And Arjuna tried to protect the queens, and they defeated him. Remember that from first canto? So what happened after that is the queens were brought to Hastinapur. Maharaj Parikshit assigned the queens to stay in Mathura with the great-grandson of Krishna, Vajranabha. Now it's a long narration, but the queens were very much eager. There's details, but they were very much eager to visit the places where Krishna performed his pastimes in Braja. So it was recommended by Kalindi the way to mitigate your feelings of separation from our husband, because Kalindi was one of the 16,108 wives. She was one of the 8 special queens. Just as when Uddhava came to Krishna sent Uddhava from Mathura to go to Vrindavan to pacify the queens, pacify the gopis, their separation. And his association pacified them. He stayed for several months. So let's go to where Uddhava, it's said that Uddhava became a blade of grass. Let's go to that place where Uddhava became a blade of grass, which is the the Uddhava Kund area, and we'll have Nam Sankirtan. This is Padma Purana. So they went. Brajanab went. Maharaj Parikshit also went. He wanted to see the places of Krishna's pastimes in Braja. So they had fantastic kirtan, such ecstatic kirtan that Uddhava emerged from a blade of grass. And Uddhava started dancing and dancing and dancing with them. And it was such a tumultuous experience when the kirtan subsided. They appealed to Uddhava, please pacify us as you did when you came on behalf of Krishna. So he suggested, let us go to Kusum Sarovar, and for 1 month I will narrate Srimad Bhagavatam. Well, Maharaj Parikshit heard Srimad Bhagavatam, but Uddhava knew Srimad Bhagavatam also. So for 1 month, and it's said in Padma Purana that one by one, the queens, this is how the queens returned to the spiritual world. They just left this world and returned to the spiritual world during that 1 month. So at Uddhava Kund, there was one very elder pujari, Gajendra Sharma, and he shared with the devotees, he had taken a vrata that he would recite the entire Srimad Bhagavatam 100 times. And when he left his body, he had recited the entire Srimad Bhagavatam only 35 times. Only. And so in his, just before departing, he was indicating, I should take birth again so I can complete the other 65 times of reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Then my life will be complete. I mean, he was a very sweet man. He's now departed. But vratas are significant. Nama vrata. Kartik vrata also. A nice example is Raghunath Das Goswami. He was so absorbed, this painting shows, he was so absorbed in chanting that
even when a tiger or lion came to drink water at Radhakund, he didn't even notice because he was just absorbed in chanting. So we spoke about chanting from the heart. It comes about by practice. It is said about Raghunath Das, Pashanera Rekar. His vows of chanting and everything he did was like lines in a stone, right till his final day. And he lived over 90 years old. But even in the stage of perfection, what to speak of us, his numerical strength was there. Another nice painting. Similarly, by the side of Radhakund, he was so absorbed in chanting in the midday summer heat, Srimati Radharani came to protect him, holding her upper garment, shielding him from the rays of the sun until the sun intensity subsided, and then she went away. And observing all of this from the background, as you see, that's Sanatana Goswami. Now, it's nice to expand on these stories, but I'm going to go. There's a nice verse, as we all know from Bhagavad Gita, about this vow or practicing. Abhyasa yoga yuktena. Abhyasa yoga yuktena means being engaged in meditation. So mantra meditation. Abhyasa, practice. Yoga yuktena cetasa nanya gamina. Nanya gamina. Without being deviated. And how do we get to that stage of not being, this is overcoming the flickering mind. It's cultivate the mind's consistently attending to the name in a pleasing, submissive service mood. This will help us overcome the flickering mind. Even when it's flickering, just stay with this principle. We'll hear some more as we go along. This is a photograph of walking through a path. And I'm going to share a little story that's connected with this photograph. I mentioned this already. The very first Japa retreat I attended was conducted by Sachinandan Swami. It was a nice experience. I remember the whole thing. And yesterday, twice, thrice, it was encouraged, please try to stay here in the temple room as much as possible. And if necessary, get up and stretch your legs and walk about. But when you come back, you'll feel that connection again by chanting in the association of devotees. So in this Japa retreat that I attended with Sachinandan Swami, I got a little restless. So I stood up. And not only stood up, but I started walking about, and I went outside and went for a walk. It was in a forested area. And when I got to a certain place in the forested area, and I saw there was a path. So I just walked along the path, and I got distracted. Over there was a deer, and the deer was looking at me, so I looked at the deer. And I started taking some steps towards the deer to see what the deer would do, but there was no path. When I took some more steps, there was a big log. I couldn't continue walking straight towards the deer. I looked on the other side of the log, and there was this giant turtle that had this fantastic design on the back of the turtle. I wonder how he got that fantastic design. And they realized, I'm distracted. Now, then the thought came, how come over there there's a path and over here there's no path? Because a path is people walked up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. Just before coming here, I attended shortly before coming here, I attended a program at Northwestern University. And one of the students asked, mindfulness. There's so much literature out there how do we decide which mindfulness method to follow? So I gave him this example. From Bhagavad Gita, you follow disciplic succession. Follow something that's been around for forever, and it time tested, and it yields. So the principle of mindfulness is all over the place these days. So the principle is not, there's not a single place where it comes. But take that which is time tested, true, it's shown, true. And our Gaudiya Acharyas, like the example of the 6 Goswamis and many others, we had this nice teaching from Sanatana Goswami. The holy name is my life and soul. And, Krishna is his life and soul. But the holy name is the same as his relationship with Krishna. And then there's so much literature written by Sanatana Goswami and others about Krishna. But the root of it is the holy name. So follow that path. We're in good shape. Just keep following that path. One time I was visiting a place. This is a photograph from the place where behind where we were staying, there was a lake, and there was a mother duck and her little ducklings. And the mother duck went this way, and the little ducklings went this way. And then mother duck went that way, they all went that way. And there was a guy at the end who was playful. And he lagged behind. And then when it got a certain distance, he'd scurry and catch up to everybody. But he continued to follow the mother duck, because that's what little ducks do. And we're little people. So we should follow those persons who have shown the way consistently over generations and generations, particularly coming from Lord Chaitanya. But even before Lord Chaitanya, persons were chanting of the holy name. He just established it and spread it. So now, some review points to help you today. Little summary of what we've covered. We discussed the importance of preliminary faith, adau shraddha. So that the adau shraddha, that's faith that there is a nice place, a spiritual place, we belong there, and there's a method to get there. So faith in the destination, faith in the process to get to that destination, faith in the persons that are helping guide us to get to that destination. Necessary. Numerical strength, just mentioned it, but it's review. This is to help the flickering mind. With faith and reverence. A vow with faith and reverence. I made mention, here's the actual Sanskrit of towards the beginning of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Sutra 1.14. There's 3 words that are important. Dirgha kala means for a prolonged period of time. Nirantarya means uninterruptedly. So every day, nirantarya, for a long period of time, however long it takes, dirgha kala. And the third is satkara, with reverence, or I have confidence. You can say faith. I have this confidence. Shraddha shabde vishvas kahe sudridha nishchaya. This is Mahaprabhu's definition of what faith is. It's confidence, same as satkarya, same direction. It's going to take me to a good place. It's going to take me to that place that's beyond this temporary place. And the other phrases, it's something that you practice. or you cultivate. Asevitaha. Satkaro asevitaha. And it places you on firm ground. Practice. So this is a definition of abhyasa. What's abhyasa? What's a yoga practice? What's a practice for us? Practice becomes firmly established. Dridha bhumi, firmly established, when it has been cultivated uninterruptedly and with devotion for a prolonged period of time. So this will help continue. This will help the flickering mind become more peaceful. And not just while you're chanting, but because there's actual shelter attained, it stays with you. We spoke a little bit about time management, specifically the Brahma Muhurta time. And here's an image about time management. I'll just elaborate quickly. I've done this with children. So you're not children, but supposing I'm with a group of children, I say, who's the smartest kid in the group? Everybody knows who the smartest kid in the group is. So can I ask you some questions? Sure. Here's a jar, and over there next to the jar is a big rock, some smaller rocks, some pebbles, and some sand, and it'll all fit. But it just fits right up to the brim. Now, which goes in first? The big rock. Because if you put the sand in first, then the big rock won't fit. You won't have everything fit. So you put the big rock in first. So what's the big rock? In our lives, what's the big rock? The big rock is taking shelter in the holy name. And when's the best time management-wise? It's the Brahma Muhurta hour. I did some math. This Brahma Muhurta hour, around this time of the year here in Phoenix, is at 10 minutes to 5. You just count 96 minutes back from the sunrise. And that's Brahma Muhurta hour for 48 minutes, the best time. So whatever else is going on in your life, try minimally. I mean, that's not too early. I was up really early this morning. So, time management will help you go beyond the flickering mind. Sharanapati, it's similar to the word Sharanagati. We're familiar with Sharanagati, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur likes this word Sharanapati, so I've used it. It's Shraddha, which is endowed with ruchi for bhakti, culminates in the symptoms of bhakti. That's Sharanapati. Apati means having attained. Sharanagati is going to the place of shelter. Sharanapati is having attained it. So it's similar. So how? Starts with faith, adau shraddha. But then when that faith has some taste for bhakti, and how does that taste for bhakti come? We've discussed through practice and through association. Associate with those who have taste, it becomes what you experience also. Then the symptoms of bhakti. So there's two parts. There's something that we do. There's some endeavor or abhyasa, connecting to the previous message, something that we do, abhyasa, and then something that Krishna does. He gives mercy. Put the two together, our effort and Krishna's mercy, the bell rings. Or you're going in the right direction. Be eager for mercy. What's our, like Shamsundar said yesterday, what's our qualification for mercy? Our eagerness. not otherwise. So humility with eagerness and effort, abhyasa, keep practicing. I want to spend a little bit more time on this one, hearing. This is the reference that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati spoke about. The ear conquers the mind. So when chanting today, and going forward in time as well, if you want to capture the mind, hear the sound. Say it negatively. If you don't hear the sound, you're not going to capture the mind. The mind will continue to flicker. You have to take shelter, and take shelter means you hear the sound. Remember his example? This ear that's materially conditioned just hears a regular sound, and it doesn't capture the mind. But when one hears with great attention, he uses the word spiritual ear, then the same as Rupa Goswami's verse in Vidagdha Madhava about the holy name, the sound is spoken by the tongue, the sound is heard by the ear, and then the sound enters the courtyard of the heart, and the mind becomes stunned, and the senses become inert. This is Rupa Goswami's verse. So Bhakti Siddhanta says the same. The mind becomes captured because the ear is more powerful. And when the ear is properly hearing, the mind submits. Now the mind doesn't submit because I'm king, I rule. This is my place. I'm in charge here. Senses, I'm in charge here. The ear is more powerful. And when we hear properly, then we can have an understanding, a realization that the name and Krishna are non-different. This Bhakti Siddhanta statement is, we do not have the capacity to even theoretically know that the name and the Lord of the name are one. But one can realize it through the hearing process, and therefore hear the name as you go forward the rest of this morning and today. Prabhupada said the same thing. Here's Prabhupada in a morning walk, Hawaii, February 75. Offenseless chanting is the ultimate goal. In the beginning, we are not offenseless, but by chanting, by practice, we gradually become offenseless. But this is necessary, that you should be offenseless. So one devotee said, Prabhupada, it's very difficult to control my mind. When I chant, it wanders. Prabhupada. So what is the controlling of mind? You have to chant and hear, that's all. You have to chant with your tongue, and the sound you hear, that's all. What's the question of mind? So if you're going along today and you're distracted, hear. The ear can conquer the mind. And then everything becomes aligned. This drawing is from Satchidananda Swami's illustrations about Japa. But there's 3 gates, and on the other side of the gate is the treasure house of the king. So body, mind, and heart aligned. So hearing is essential to get to the treasure of the goal of chanting. Almost done. Nama Prabhu is a person with whom you can cultivate a relationship. That's the theme of this whole retreat. And when Nama Prabhu, according to Rupa Goswami, enters the courtyard of the heart, the mind becomes stunned, senses become inert, and it's a whole other experience of our relationship with Krishna. And therefore, chant from the heart. And develop your relationship with the living name. This is, again, Satchidananda Swami's phrase, the living name. Not just a sound, but a person, a living person whose form is even more merciful than the transcendental form of Krishna. We touched on this, Vacha and Vachaka. And this is our last slide. So, at 4 o'clock, we'll come together again, and I'll ask for volunteers, so be prepared if you'd like to volunteer. What your experience was, and most importantly, what resource helped you the most, what resource gave you the greatest strength in the course of their 64 rounds or plus, whatever you do. Now, I was requested, do you have the portable mic? Take it to Shamsundar. He has a fantastic, creative idea of how to support all of you in getting maximum experience from our activity today. So I'm going to give the microphone to Shamsundar. You can turn and look at him now.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhaya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaisnavebhyo namo namaha.
Aha.
What a fortunate day, right? I was just thinking, when I wake up and I start chanting, Krishna always reveals something. So I text Maharaj at 2:36 a.m. that this is something that strong desire arose in my heart. So this is a very fortunate day. This time will again never come. The number of people we are, and this time in Phoenix Temple, will never come this moment again. So we should take the advantage of the facilities. And I was thinking what a glorious presence of His Holiness Ramapat Swami Maharaj is here. And it's the beginning of the Kartik month. What else can we need? And we have a strong devotees. The presence of the Radha Madhav Hari, Gonitai, Srinath Ji Gopal, Prabhupada is here.
Haridas Thakur.
Haridas Thakur is there. And the Vrunda Devi is here. And we have somehow the Vrunda Devi has appeared, so many of. So it's create the atmosphere of Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, what is the happening in Vrindavan? Everyone is trying to show the divine couple at the best effort. So Vrunda Devi has appeared to support us. In Vrindavan, like I was telling yesterday, two potency is very prominent. That is not available anywhere. So now we are in Vrindavan, and those two Taraka potency, which make us away from the material attachments, and the Paraka potency, which will attract us toward Krishna through chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So I was really feeling, as Kanaya Priya Prabhuji yesterday says, that we should not afraid to share some realizations. So I am not a qualified, I am not better than you all, but something that has revealed in my heart and helped me in my devotional chanting practice, I would like to share some of the things. So today I was thinking, as Maharaj says, that we have to practice for prolonged time without the distractions. So how we will achieve this is we are going to put that 15 tulsi plants in the temple. And I request that 5 devotees should sit around the Tulsi plant and leave one space for me. I will be coming to each group. What we are trying to achieve is we will focus, prolong concentrations, and I request that those 5 members work out cooperation. We have to learn everything, how we are going to work with each other. So my humble request that we should practice today, that at least 3 devotees should always be there near the Tulsi plant. We should not leave more than 2 people at a time. And to keep that momentum, I think it's a unique way that you will experience. And we can, if we don't practice now in the association of a devotees, I don't think that you will be able to practice in your home sitting for 7-8 hours. I can assure you that fact. So this is the time that if everyone remain determined, unless some nature calls, please sit and chant. Now the couple of things that I would like to bring is there should be no distractions. So if you want to have a phone with you in emergency situation, just put it on the mute. Do not make any other noise in the temple room, except we should hear only holy name. So we have to be attentive in all respect. Then our attentiveness will go very deep. Now to facilitate that, couple of my request, and I'm going to also share that something that it has really helped me lately, that I would like to share with you all, that when you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we always never use this finger. So we use this finger. So the technique that I use right now, nowadays, is I chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And when I say Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare, then I move the beats little lower. So it come right the next beat. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Like this. So you will be attentive that Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we should rotate the beats. And when we say Hare Ram, just slide the beats. It will increase your focus. Just believe me, it has helped me quite a bit. So if you feel like, all of us are not same, if you feel like, then you can utilize this technique. There is no force, but you can try. Now, because it's a Maun Vrat, I have some sign that I'm going to come and when I'm going to sit down with the group. So I'm going to explain those signs, what does it mean. What I have experienced in the large crowd like this in the temple, that some will become a prominent chanter. That other devotees won't be able to hear their own chanting. So we have to learn the technique, how to nicely, like today, Rasakeda Prabhu can attest that Prabhuji was saying that him and his wife never able to sit together and chant because one will become loud and other has to correct them. But ask them today. We chanted 6-7 hours together. There was no distractions. And they feel that they gained something because I was giving them signal every moment. Sometime 2 things will happen. Some devotee will chant louder, which is good because then we can hear properly and a sound vibration will go in the heart, but not at the cost of the other devotees that they cannot hear their chanting. So if you are chanting loudly, when I come to the group, please look at me, keep an eye contact little bit. So if I made the eye contact with you and if I say like this, if I say 2 times, that means you are too loud. Bring it down your volume. If I say only 1 time, you reduce little. Other thing we measure today, like Rasakeda Prabhu can attest it, that when I was chanting, I was hearing their chanting. And when I come to notice that Rasakeda Prabhu was chanting really softly, and I know that he is going to go to some sweet moment. when you chant so softly, that's also a danger because you are going in another samadhi. So I knock on the table and wake him up. I say, when you go too slow, it's dangerous because if I have not knocked on the table, you must have stopped chanting. So two things will happen. Somebody is going to that other direction, sweet moment. I'm going to say like this, raise your volume, because we must hear our chanting. That's the key thing. If you will not hear, our concentration is lost. Mind will find so many things to engage you. So if he wants to remain, please, and I will be chanting with you all, and in different groups, I will move around. I feel, when I heard my Guru Maharaj class one day, and he said, all other devotional service is very important. Deity worship, book distribution, Sankirtan, all these practices is there. But he made the point, when you help the devotee to strengthen their spiritual life, that is the best service. So I am totally convinced, and that's why I can't resist my feeling. I know Maharaj is sleeping, but I send the text message at 2:36. Maharaj, this is what I have the strong feeling that I would like to see. And you will see that Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be so vibrant. Everybody will chant softly, but it's so sublime. Just experience. We can experience when you have a large crowd. And this will carry us on our daily practice. I assure you that both because of my 2 days stay with Rasakeda Prabhu and Ananda Radhika Mataji, they pledged me. I said, become punctual in devotional service. We have to be attentive. I say, if you will become attentive to chant the holy name properly, your attention when you do the deity worship, either at the home or at the temple, you will become more attentive. Then that attentiveness will spread. Any activity you do, then you will be attentive. That this activity really I am doing to please Krishna, or it's for my own sense gratification. All this attentiveness will grow from the attentiveness from the chanting. So my humble request, I'm not better than you, I'm fallen, and I'm trying my best. But whatever I have learned, and I would like to see that if we can utilize today to take full advantage. This is the beginning of the Kartik month, and I hope that today's practice will give you some enthusiasm that you may take a vow, like Rasakeda Prabhu and Anand Radhika Mataji take a vow to me, that Prabhu, we will be joining your call at 3:30. I said, I'm going to make sure in Houston when it becomes 5:31, and if I don't see you on the Zoom call, I'm going to call you. We have to be really punctual. So we will put the 12 to 15 Tulsi plants, sit 5 devotees around the Tulsi plant, leave one space for me in each group. And please remember this sign, double up. Also sometime I have seen, so I'm going to use another 2 more sign, sideways also. When I go on the right, that means that increase the speed of your chanting. Sometime when we become so slow, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, that means that we are going in another direction. So I may give you the horizontal couple of nods. That okay, increase your speed. Hare Krishna, right? Now when I say like this, maybe you are chanting too fast, that you won't be able to capture each syllabus properly. Then what is the use of that time? We are wasting the time. So I may give you the on the left hand side thumb, that means reduce the speed. So those are the signs that I will be utilizing. So now let's put up whatever the next plan is. But thank you very much. And I hope and pray, beg the mercy of all the disciple succession to bestow the kind mercy upon all of us. So we can at least taste one time the taste of the real chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Happy Kartik to